I'm going to let this be part the intro to part 14 of the haul truck series. Um, what is going to be in this part is what some may consider as mundane kind of things. But they've all got to be done. Again, like I've said in past videos, they've all got to be done. And I really don't know what could be important to other people. I mean, some people might be working on a truck similar to this, maybe not doing what I'm doing, but working on it and gain information from some of the things that I do. So again, what might be mundane to somebody else or one person might be important information to somebody else. So let me go from there. What I'm going to do as part of the intro is let me just explain one thing, and then we'll dive into the clips that I have shot of things that are going on. One of the things, as you know, is that I'm going to remove the cab. But once I remove the cab, I kind of like to make some kind of a reference to where the position of the cab is, the configuration of the firewall, and where it falls in relationship to the frame. Because when I set this engine down in there, more than likely the cab's not going to be there. So what I'm thinking about doing is making a little mock-up of the firewall and its relationship to the frame out of, I'm not really sure what I'm going to make it out of right now, maybe cardboard or maybe that 1/4 inch laminate type board that they use for underlayment for floors. But what I'm going to do is try and do that so that as I try and test fit the engine and transmission into it, I have a reference of what the relationship will be to the firewall and the cab. So here we go. The first clip is probably going to be about a little bit about the engine. As some of you may have noticed in my other video shop updates or anything else, the engine has been moved. So let's dive into that as the first part. By the way, anybody notice that I'm in a t-shirt and the doors are open? Can't believe that spring has actually come, as summer should be. I'm over here at the A3, and I wasn't going to film any of this, but I figured why not? I might as well do it. This is a lifting bracket, lifting bracket for the engine, to pull the engine in and out of a vehicle or to pick the engine up. There was supposed to be another one back here and it's gone. Whether it was part of something else or not, whatever, it's gone. So what I'm doing is just making another lifting bracket for it back here. I had this scrap piece of angle iron around. I just cut it at that angle because of that where it goes back in there. Drilling the holes for it. I've got to just tap them holes out. I can only get the bolts in so far. I've got to make these two holes a little bigger, and then on the back side I'll put a hole through there so that I can get a chain and a bolt onto it, so to be able to lift it up with the engine hoist and set it on some stands. And I'll address the stands in a minute under another video. Okay, we're going to wait for the camera to light shift and we'll have a little discussion. I probably should have done it by now. But anyways, here's that bracket. I'll put it on. When I took the bolts out of this thing, there was 2 bolts stuck in there. The bracket was missing, but there was 2 bolts stuck in there. They were only in there like a thread and a half. And I took them out and I made the bracket and I went to put them back in and they really wouldn't go in. I thought it was maybe the threads need to be chased on both the bolts and the tap in the header or the head. It's actually the air box for the intake manifold in this area. But anyways, I went to do it and I noticed it wasn't right. The bolts were 1/2 inch, half 13s, but they really wouldn't fit right. Turned out that they were metric, which I should have known. Most Cummins engines are metric. All Cummins engines are probably metric. But anyways, so somebody had just stuck 1/2 inch bolts in there. But that's not the issue. I mean, I just ran a tap down in there and they were fine. It was 12 millimeter 1.75 thread pitch. But when there's a Fastenal or not too far from here, but I thought, well, I'll just go to Napa. I know Napa carries bolts. So I grabbed these two, and I grabbed a couple of more, 4 more, just to have around in case I ever need them. Always like to have them. I take them to the counter, and I know the people there. I take them to the counter. The 6 bolts cost $14. I'm thinking, I can go to Tractor Supply, and for $14 I can buy approximately 7 pounds of just standard grade nuts and bolts. Now that's not metric. I don't know if they even carry metric, but it was just annoying to me. You know, again, I know the people, and I put a washer on that because when I ran that bolt down, it was just a little shy of it bottomed out, and it was a little shy of the top of the intake manifold. Now the piece of angle iron probably would have compensated for it, but I just wanted to be extra sure, so I did not grab metric washers. It's just a 1/2 inch washer that I put on that 12 millimeter bolt. But that was kind of annoying to me that you know, and I didn't ask him, tell you the truth. I was just annoyed with it, and I just didn't want to, without knowing what the prices were anyplace else for metric bolts. Not that I buy metric bolts that often. Not knowing the prices anywhere else, I didn't want to say no thanks, just put them back in inventory. I'll go someplace else. Didn't want to do that. Know the people, so I just took them, but it is annoying. Back over in the middle of the shop, it's off of the skid. It was on the skid, kind of laying more towards its side. It's off of that skid, and what I'm going to do is start stripping it down a little bit in preparation for getting it back over near the engine bench for tear down. One of the things that I need to find is a number on this thing so that I can reference buying gaskets. As I had stated in another video, I went to my local Napa store, and they need some kind of a reference number, not a reference number off the engine. I have a friend that if I give them a reference number off of the engine, can get a gasket kit for it. They apparently make several gasket kits for different model engines of the 83, and he needs a number off of it. But at first glance, it kind of looks like the plate has been removed. The rivets are still there, but the plate is gone. So I've got to look over the engine real closely. I might bring in the power washer and give it a wash off. before I start the tear down, but I will determine that probably tomorrow. It's getting toward the end of the day, and I will determine that tomorrow. The main thing is I got to find that number and start tearing this thing down in preparation for, like I said, for getting it over near the engine bench so that I can pull it apart, take a good look at bearings. I won't even look at the rings, I'll just replace them, but I will mic the cylinders and the pistons and everything. I'm not sure about new pistons yet. It really depends on the condition of them and what is thought about new pistons, and if I will get better performance out of new pistons, enough better performance to warrant buying new pistons or better pistons. So that's all to be looked at. I just kind of wanted to show you that it's off of the skid and standing upright or sitting upright. I just got it blocked up on the front engine mount is a flat surface across the front of the motor, and the two engine mounts in the back are these things. But for right now, I just got it blocked up, and kind of there's no tension on that chain, just safety precaution. Won't tip over, but just in case. I'll bring you back. So as you guys know that I'm all over the place. I mean, I'm doing hauls, and then in the shop one day working on one thing, doing a haul the next day, back in the shop maybe working on something else. So with that in mind, let's dive in back into the axle again. Okay, here we are on that axle. Man, I was told that the torque values, I kind of felt, and it doesn't feel like any of them are peened over. Let me bring it back. Okay, there's nut number one. So this washer, see there's two nuts on it. What they did, put the washer in between the nuts and peened the thing over this nut. Now this inside nut was extremely loose. I'm just taking it off by hand. Now whether it loosened up when I undid the first one, I don't know. Let me see if I can get you a closer shot here. I'm going to give you a handheld, and it's not with a gimbal, it's just me holding the camera. As you can see, there's a keyway there, or a slot like for a key. And what it is, this washer was supposed to have a tab on it, and you can see where it's extended down there a little bit. Well, it has broken off, and that tab, what it would do is lock into that keyway and keep that washer from spinning, thus holding that nut in if you peened the thing over. But it broke off. Now, I was kind of, and there's a piece in there that broke off. I'll pull it out in a minute with a pick, but I wanted you to see it. And I was wondering if I put that socket on there, that it went over the top of the washer and picked up both nuts at the same time, but that socket will not fit over that washer. So somehow that tab on that washer got broke off of there, and I'm not really sure how it happened or when it happened. But anyways, let me set you back up on the tripod, and I'll pull that piece out of there. And there is that piece. Okay, so that hub should come off now. Maybe tap on it. Okay, let me go see if I can figure out how that thing comes out. One of the things that I had to do is re-rig this rear axle on those stands. Before, that pumpkin was facing down, and the stands were actually in the way of me being able to remove the calipers off of it. I've got to get the calipers off in order to be able to get that axle apart. But anyways, so what I did is I just picked it up with a forklift, got it up off of the stands with a forklift, and used the engine hoist to pivot the pumpkin up so that it was facing in the direction that it normally sits, like in the truck, with the rear differential facing forward. That way I'm able to get those calipers off, and then be able to get the this one rotor is pretty bad. It's cracked, and I'm gonna have to replace it. So that's that. I've got it in position now where I can really work on it. I'll bring you back. I'm over here on the rear axle. What I'm trying to do is get that caliper to lower down. What I kind of figured out is this was in there, wedged in there, and a bolt holds that in there, and that's what holds it on. The caliper from swinging down. Now I can't get, having problems getting the caliper to come down. It's just a matter of probably the caliper is jammed in there, and I can't, it says to put a screwdriver in there into the air vent hole, cooling hole, and pry it back, but I can't really figure out what I'm prying against in there. So what I'm going to do is just take a pry bar, pry it as I'm pounding on it at the same time. I'll bring it back and show it to you. Okay, here we go. It is coming. You see it? See the gap opening up? Let me take a look underneath it, see, make sure it's rotating on a pin down there. Well, it looks like it's coming off all right. I don't know. I sprayed PB Blaster on the thing. The metal on the back side of the shoe is hitting the hub. So let me look at it again. Feels like there's something holding it on the inside. We're going to leave that axle right there, and I'll bring you back at another time and show you what how that I got that thing off of there. Let me just say, as I had discussed earlier, I kind of jump all over the place, and there's no really consistency to the video. I mean, I jump from thing to thing, from the engine to the rear end to the cab to everything all over the truck, and that is only going to happen during the teardown. I'm kind of doing other things and trying to get my head around every part of this truck. You know, the engine, the transmission, the rear end. And at some point in time, I've got to get parts for all of this. So when I go to rebuild all of this stuff, I will try and keep it in a consistent video, into like one video, so that you can see it. But right now, what I'm going to do is be tearing down the engine and kind of looking at what I've got to get for parts. If I do want to get pistons, the rings that I want to get, the bearings that I want to get, other things that are with the engine. The same way with the rear end, bearings, seals, everything for the rear end. But when I go to put it back together, I will try and keep it consistent in under one video or a set of videos, but I will tag them in case somebody just wants to see the rebuild of like the rear end or the rebuild of the engine and what parts were used. I will try and keep it consistent in under one or two videos. If it's more than one video, I will make sure that I tag it in the title that is part of the Cummins 8.3 engine rebuild. But anyways, that's going to be it for this week. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe.